live talking about Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannous with Josh Wendell here on the podcast. So lots of exciting things to discuss. Might even talk a little bit about Tyron Woodley's recent appearance on JRE and some things he had to say. They talked about a lot of cool stuff. So everybody's already writing news articles about it and putting it on Team Alpha Male. And just because Joe Rogan was talking about his theories about what Connor's going to do, he thinks they're going to strip him of the title. So anyway, so what are you thinking? Just initially on. Because initially I'm like, Miocic, I'm pretty high on him. And then the more I think about it, I'm really, like I told you before you came on, I'm just leaning towards Ngannou.
Yeah, you're changing it up.
Yeah, but I don't know, man.
I'm doing the same thing.
Every time I see him decapitate Overeem, I'm like, yeah, this guy could be the future. What's crazy to me is I've been reading about Ngannou and just like researching what his story is and stuff. Dude was like homeless on the streets of Paris until he started training at his MMA gym. Like moved to Paris from, let's see, he's a Cameroonian French. So like I guess Cameroon. It's near Nigeria in Africa.
Yeah, it's West Africa.
I would guess a French colony. Is probably why he was able to immigrate to France easily. But he wanted to be a boxer. And immigrated to France to be a boxer. He was like homeless on the streets and started training at, I think it was the MMA Factory or Fight Factory. I can't remember what his team name is, but he was trying to box in there, and they were like, "Have you heard of MMA?" And so now we have a total savage, dude. I'm scared of this guy. It's insane, bro.
As am I. Did you hear about like his dad being a street fighter or something like that?
No, I heard his family wasn't very supportive of him wanting to be a boxer.
Yeah, it's tough to get intel on the guy, but I heard his dad was a street fighter and didn't have the best rep around town, so Ngannou was sort of trying to get away from that. And
interesting.
Yeah, that's what brought him to more legitimized contest fighting.
Yeah, it's interesting too. So early on in his record, he had one loss, a
Yeah.
decision loss. Like I guess it was like maybe right after he
got
moved
subbed.
Yeah, I wonder who that guy was. I'm queuing up his first fight in the UFC versus Luis Henrique.
Now, have you seen the picture of Ngannou from back in Africa days?
No.
There's a picture you can find on the internet of him, and he looks quite a bit different. Before UNC Performance Institute days back in Africa, he was a way smaller. Not like he wasn't, he was still like an impressive looking physique and a huge dude, but he was way skinnier probably, He had to probably be 210, 215 in the picture rather than the 265 he is now.
So does he cut weight to make it? I was unclear on that. His walk around weight or whatever, or probably his last fight weight was 262. So I wonder if he cuts to make the 265 limit.
I think he does. I don't think he cuts a lot, but I think he does cut.
That's wild. I mean, because like I think maybe you and I were talking about heavyweights. It's like you take a heavyweight that's under like 250 considerably within that 20-pound swing. It's like, what are you doing? That's why there should be an ultra. I think it was Colby and I talked about. There should be an ultra heavyweight classes. There's like some guys that do like strongman and stuff like that also train MMA. They're like 400-pound people. That I wonder what that would look like.
It'd be interesting to see them fight. Yeah, I mean, they're also, I don't know, because, the division is, everyone complains about the skill level and the athleticism in the heavyweight division, but at the same time, it would be nice to see something in between 205 and 265. So then you're going to have Miocic fighting Ngannou, who's 30 pounds more muscle than Miocic is. It's going to make a difference in the fight.
There's some people saying right now that, and for a while, that the heavyweight division in Bellator is possibly better than the heavyweight division in the UFC right now. What do you think about that?
Well, who do they have?
They got Fedor.
Okay, he's something, I guess.
They got that guy that beat Fedor, Matt
Fedor,
Mitrione.
Frank Mir, Matt Mitrione. Matt Mitrione's definitely a top heavyweight. You can't argue that.
Yeah,
I think he's gotten better since he left the UFC.
Yeah. Let's see. And then you've got apparently somebody told me, and I haven't looked him up in a while. Somebody told me that Mirko Krokop's on like a 5-fight win streak, just like juicing it overseas super
I
hard.
heard that as well. Yeah.
But I guess he's probably fighting in Ryzen or something. Like I said, I haven't kept up with him. But we got who else is in the heavyweight tournament? We got Roy Nelson,
Kel Sonnen, Frank Mir,
yeah,
King Mo.
Yeah, and apparently King Mo is walking around pretty heavy these days.
Yeah,
from what I hear.
But how many out of the 8-man heavyweight tournament? How many are true heavyweights?
Yeah, exactly.
One.
Exactly.
Frank Mir.
I mean, yeah.
Frank Mir and Matt Mitrione, 2.
Roy Nelson, maybe. Who else is in that?
It's hard to even classify Roy Nelson as a true heavyweight, though. Like,
I know,
should
dude.
he really be fighting at that weight? No, hell no.
Yeah, I know. When he did lose quite a bit of weight, and like it looked like he really trained super hard for a fight, and like leaned down a bunch, and I mean he looked great, and then he like actually I think blew back up. So yeah, I'm excited about that little tournament. What's Josh Barnett doing these days? Is he in Bellator?
I don't know. I haven't heard about him in a long time.
I was trying to think the other day when I was thinking about that little tournament. And I like the idea of a tournament, but man, I just like that. I wish they would do it over a shorter span of time because I feel like everybody's going to get hurt, and we're not going to see the fights that we want to see.
Is it supposed to last like 2018, like the whole year? So we'll get the
that's
champ
what I
like
heard.
at the end of the year.
Yeah, I hate that, man. Like Hickson when he was fighting back in Japan, like it's like okay, we're going to see who wins this tonight. 8-man tournament. We're going to be done here in a couple of hours. This.
Yeah, great for the viewers and the fans. Terrible for the fighters.
Yeah, I think it was on Joe Rogan's MMA show. They were talking about Josh Barnett. Really, it was that Jimmy Smith episode. They were talking about how Josh Barnett kind of like spent his prime outside the UFC, and it's just
for sure. Him, probably
well,
Nogueira did.
Barnett's last fight was in the UFC. I'm trying to see if he has anything coming up. And did you see Josh Barnett do that no-gi grappling match against Dean Lister?
No.
It was sick. He actually submitted Dean Lister with the same move Dean Lister had last been submitted with 17 years earlier. It's like basically a pin, like a head-arm sort of pin, just chest compression.
I heard about Josh Barnett being sort of a legend in the grappling world.
Yeah, he really is. Dude's super legit, trained with Eric Paulson. So kind of came up under a real legit grappler and leg locker. Eric Paulson was showing some sick calf crusher the other day that I saw going around viral on the internet.
Josh Barnett is the current Metamoris heavyweight champion. Is that a big thing?
That is. He and then I think it was High and Gracie that he toe-holded at Metamoris. It was pretty legit. Let's see. I wonder if that's on Wiki. Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. So I wonder, do you think Scott Coker is the main reason they're trying to do the heavyweight tournament format again, or what do you think's their logic behind that?
I'm sure Scott Coker, from what I understand, is the brainchild of all the the mad ideas of Bellator, and so I'm pretty sure he came up with this tournament just thinking.
You think it's? I mean, you think he's trying to throw it back to like the Strikeforce days, or what are you thinking on that?
Yeah, I think it's just a tournament style stuff. Is just an interesting format. There's
it really is.
There's no fan favorite getting title shots. So there's no drama. It's just you beat this guy, you get the shot. It's a
30 seconds left on this Ngannou versus Luis Henrique round 1. You can tell he's a lot more stiff and rigid than he once was, kind of reaching for punches. Good little sprawl, though.
Hell yeah, that was a great sprawl.
Man, like I tell people this kind of all the time now, but I feel like I didn't. I mean, I've known how to sprawl for like 10 years, but last July I went to this Hicks and Gracie seminar, and I feel like I learned how to sprawl for the first time from Hickson. He's like, hey, do this. It's like, and this is the same as all that other stuff I just talked about.
I love sprawling. It's probably one of my favorite things to do. So I was talking about like being a counter wrestler.
One of Tyrone's favorite things to do.
Have a great sprawl.
Tyrone. I met Tyrone Woodley in Vegas a couple years ago and like tried to strike up a conversation with him because it's like kind of a closed off deal. Like you pay to be there, and like he's kind of hanging out at this booth of our billing company. And I just kind of started talking to him, and dude just kind of was like, yeah, dude, whatever.
Yeah, that seems like Tom Woodley. He gets in little
And
moods.
like it was like there was like nobody there talking to him either. I was just like, hey man, this is like long before. I mean, this was at least 2 years ago, at least maybe 3 years ago. But he was just like, because I was asking him, he was like sponsored by our billing company, and I was like, how'd you work that out? And he's like, I think they just needed somebody from the UFC, you know. I'm like, well, you know, good for you. Yeah, that was a legit sprawl. Good, nice timing on it, anyway.
Notice Enrique guy, I wonder if he's fought anyone really since then or before this fight.
Yeah, I've never really.
Or is he just kind of brought in to see what Ngannou's got? Not that MMA math really means anything, but you're going to at least pull something from it if he's beat other people of note.
Yes.
I didn't see much of anything from him in this fight. He looked terrified of Ngannou from the start and fought like he was terrified.
I'm terrified and I'm not even in there. Like, man, that dude is just like huge. Scary huge. They say he just hangs out at USADA all the time. I guess they have a gym there. The testing center, yeah. Maybe the UFC just had USADA put an office in one of their facilities. I don't really know what the breakdown is. Dude's trying to take him down. Seems to be his game plan.
Yeah, they're saying, I think a lot of people are thinking you got to take Ngannou down to beat him.
That's what they were saying on when Woodley was on Joe Rogan. They were saying that because I mean, Miocic is a D1 wrestler, so
yeah,
there is that.
But I'm thinking that's not the way to beat him. Personally, I'm against the majority with that one.
What do you think?
I think you're gonna have to kickbox him up. Since he's a boxer, traditionally, that seems to be what
his leg kick scares me, bro. Did you see that highlight of like how big that dude's leg pad had to be, and like when he would knee him in the body and stuff, just like lifting him up off the ground. I'm like, man, I'd hate to be holding mitts for that dude.
Yeah, but in his fights, I don't see too much of a leg approach. I don't know if I really see him kick
I know. I've
much.
seen him do it more. I've seen him kick the leg a little bit. But not. I think he's kind of still coming into his own on his leg kick. But like when I've seen him score it, and I've seen him do it in like open workouts, it looks sick. Let's see. Luis Henrique is Brazilian, 6'1", and
yeah, he's a little tiny guy too. Young guy.
He's lost. I guess he's had 5 fights in the UFC. He's 2-3. Hasn't really fought anybody. His first fight in the UFC was against Ngannou, but this is Ngannou's first fight in the UFC. This was when Cerrone fought Dos Anjos 2. Oh, there's that uppercut again, dude. Sick. That was sick. Dude's head just snapped back.
Yeah, interestingly enough, it's you got to look out for Ngannou's left hand more than you do his right hand, even though he's right-handed and coming out of an orthodox stance.
Yeah, I know. I love how he does that lead uppercut. I'm a big fan of the lead uppercut.
Well, I'm actually just assuming he's right-handed. I don't actually know. Maybe he is left-handed and he uses a orthodox stance anyway.
1, 2, and then just a jab cross. And, threw it from the hip, too, man. Jeez. Whirled his hip into it really well, though. That was sick. And, that's kind of what same thing he did to Overeem. 2 uppercuts in a row on that one, though. He went rear uppercut to lead uppercut. Sick. Super sick. Okay. Let's see who the next victim is. We got... So we'll cross this dude's name off the list. Luis Henrique, round 2 KO. His next fight ends in the round 2 also, and then all the rest of his fights in the UFC end in round 1, all the way up to Overeem. So,
Who do we got next? Curtis
Uh,
Blades.
Curtis Blades. His name sounds cool. At least we know that he made it 2 rounds. I mean, that's bragging rights at this point.
I was talking to my brother the other day, and we're like, "What?" Curtis Blades seemingly has like a hype train behind him right now, and I think it's literally just because he made it to round 2 with Ngannou. People think
he
he's
got
good.
beat the least. He does have a nice looking beard.
He got beat the least, and I think he actually does take Ngannou down in this fight.
Interesting.
It's brief, very brief, but he does get him down.
That's why I was wanting to watch all of Ngannou's fights, is just to see. I want to see his progression and evolution. Like, he fought a lot when he first started out, and then he had a break from Arlovsky to Overeem for quite a while, like 10 or 11 months.
Mm-hmm. Now I'll ask you, maybe you know, has he been at the UFC Performance Institute since he's been in the UFC? Or is this a new thing? They just moved him out there like this last year?
I'm not sure. I haven't really heard or read.
I don't know. And another thing I was wondering about that was are they giving him free room and board out there and just
I don't know. Well, see, I heard it from Nowitzki on JRE. Nowitzki was like, we got to get this dude in office because he's like always there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, we got to get this dude in office here. Come on.
And I hear people complaining and bitching that, Francis Ngannou's getting special treatment. They're putting him up free room and board right there at the Performance Institute, so he gets access to all that stuff.
I mean,
for
you
free.
think they're trying to make him the Conor McGregor of the heavyweight division? Because that seems to be the model. Like, that's what Tyron was mad about, is that, like, he's like, I had a couple of bad fights in which, like, I mean, they were real. Like, I liked how, like, it did take him a while to kind of get his point across, but he's like, how would you fight Wonder Boy? And like Joe has even made a point where he's like, you know, it was exciting at the time. There's all this stuff on the line, but it's not like that fight you watch a second time. Like Demetrius Johnson, Mighty Mouse. I watched that fight like twice recently. You know, so it's
yeah. I don't blame Tyron at all for the way he fought Stephen Thompson. I would have done the exact same thing, and I respect the hell out of Tyron.
Well, and he brought in
fighter.
Sage Northcutt and all of these super legit Taekwondo guys to simulate that. So, like put a lot of time and effort into it. Puts a lot of time and effort into studying, breaking down his opponents, and
yeah.
And then he fights a guy that tries to take him down 20 times. It's like he's like, what do you want me to do? You know, and Joe's like praising him for knocking out Robbie Lawler, and his like breakdown on how he was able to do that was. He was like, man, Robbie's got his face is used to taking straight punches. He's like, you know, I was like, it was my strategy to throw hooks to hit the side of his face, to hit the jawline.
Yeah.
And, like, they really theorized and, like, broke that down from his fights that he had taken, like, you know, like, that the shots that he did take, like, all out of the Nick Diaz fight.
Yeah, I think Tyron is super smart and very adaptable, and it's weird because he does things traditionally you don't think would be a good idea, but somehow he makes it work. Like, you know, backing himself up against the cage all the time. Everyone's like, oh, he can't back himself up against the cage with Wonder Boy. But, you know, little did we know, Tyron says, you know, screw that. I'm not going to listen to anyone, do my own thing, and he does what works for him. So,
You know what my favorite Tyron Woodley fight was?
what's up?
Nate Marquardt.
That's mean, man.
I know,
That's low.
dude. I'm sorry, bro.
That's low.
That was kind of low. Okay, Ngannou going against Curtis Blades here. Both come out ortho. So Ngannou is 31.
Blades is a young guy, huh? He's in the early 20s?
I think so, yeah. 83-inch reach for Ngannou. He's actually got a 3-inch advantage on Miocic. Started out in boxing, wanted to be a boxer, and also is trained. I don't know if he's had any competitions, but Savate, French Savate, which is a super interesting kickboxing style. I don't know if you were at class the other night while I was talking about like kicking the liver or the inside leg with the ball of your foot. Like a front kick style, but it's like turned 45 degrees.
Yeah, like a triangle kick is what some people call it.
Okay, interesting. I'll have to look that up. I've even asked my coach who's like Olympic Taekwondo back in the 80s, been to Soviet Union when it was Soviet Union, fought in Athens, Greece. He's big time into Taekwondo back in the day, and still he has super legit. He actually hit me in the head one time we were sparring. He's like 50 years old. But I was like, I asked him, I'm like, and I mean, he's that guy I was telling you about. That's he's Superfoot, Joe Lewis, he has a background in everything, man. He's so well versed in stand up, and he's a 4th degree in BJJ. So, but he was just like, yeah, that's a bastardized round kick.
No,
And it is. It's the same shape as a round kick.
But it's sort of like a front kick
But
at
it's
the
sort
same
of like
time.
a front
I've
kick,
heard
yeah.
that called a triangle kick. It's sort of
I'm gonna have to
sweeps
look that
at
up. That's interesting.
A weird angle.
I love knowing where like terms come from and stuff, and like what because like certain terms stick and certain terms don't. Like I always like having different terms and different metaphors because I'll like explain a hook or something to somebody and they might not get it. So I'll try and have like fallback ways of explaining things for different folks. Just swing stepping in, a little Dwayne Ludwig style.
So I noticed. Did you see that first shot that Curtis Blades tried to put on Ngannou?
Yeah, well, I wasn't really paying attention.
He came
to
straight out. Round one, he striked a little bit. You could kind of tell he wasn't trying to strike with him, but he shot on him, and it wasn't a bad shot. It was a pretty good shot, and they got in a clinch where Ngannou had double overhooks and Curtis Blades had double underhooks, and Curtis Blades is JUCO national champion, and he looked like he had good technique, but Ngannou was not going down. He didn't even get Ngannou off balance. So this is why I'm saying I don't think.
Is this a UFC 200? Is that what I'm seeing on the canvas? Ooh, rocked him, dropped him. And then he fits in a double. That's a great time to shoot a double, like when someone's rushing in on you like that when you're already down.
Yeah, might as well.
I mean, that's along those same lines of counter wrestling. It's like you're already down there low. You didn't have to set up your shot. They're running in. Man, Ngannou's so good at like closing the gap when somebody when he rocks somebody and drops them. That's like he was all over Reem, dude. Just
yeah, he's like that in all his fights. His follow up, he's always in position, always got the good angle, and always on balance to follow up. Now Curtis Blades, he's not standing a chance in the grappling or wrestling with Ngannou, and this is early on in Ngannou's UFC career.
April of 16.
Yeah, second UFC fight.
See, this wasn't even this fight wasn't even a finish. It was I think that they might stop the fight in between. Oh, did you see him go underneath
There's the
that?
takedown.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, he got kind of lazy on that. This dude shot under his hook.
Are you able to rewind it and see it again here?
Yeah, I believe that.
Let's see how he was what Ngannou was doing.
I can go 30 seconds. That'll be the easiest way to do it.
Break down the takedown. The one takedown someone's got on Ngannou. And he took him right down.
Mother F. I hit the 30-second button. Why are you going to restart the whole fight? Do you remember what time in the fight that was?
It was sort of the end/middle of round 2.
Here were 2. Okay. So he just dropped him again. A little over under. Yeah, so I wonder if Ngannou is kind of winded from this little clinch exchange when he gets taken down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that might be one of the. I'm super interested to see how Miocic and their team strategize for this. Very interested to see.
Yeah, me too. Like I was talking about the other day, I think it's Miocic is going to have to change a lot in his game or add a lot to be able to.
I think so too. But like I mentioned to you, he has evolved a lot in the last 5 fights. Like so he had that loss to Struve, right?
Yeah.
Which I mean, Struve's like 7 foot tall, man. I mean, like how are you going to fight that dude? So yeah, I wonder if he wasn't like kind of gassed right there when he got taken down with that.
I think Curtis Blades timed it really well.
Yeah, it was.
It's like
because he was kind of throwing like almost a lazy hook.
Yeah, he didn't even have time to react. He just went straight down. There was no fight or anything.
He's countering well though with that little leg drag right there, reaching across on the inside thigh. I like doing that myself.
Yeah,
getting an underhook. Oh man, come on now, what's going on? Curtis Blades and the hizzy.
He's looking good right here.
I mean, he really is. I'm scared.
If I was watching this fight live, I'd be like, oh, if I didn't know any better.
Yeah, that was impressive. I wonder. He looked. I mean, he looks like he's taking labored breaths. Looked his hands a little lower. I think maybe the wrestling just fatigued him out a little bit, but that's just it. Like this fight was, well, I mean, over a year ago, April of almost 2 years ago.
Now my brother was saying if Stipe gets him in a clinch against the cage, it'd make it a grind fest. Might be the way to beat him. And
Randy Couture style.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I don't see that. That in theory, that seems great, but we've seen Overeem try to do it. Overeem has a great clinch. Overeem is big and strong, and Ngannou didn't have no problems with Overeem trying to do that.
No, that is. Oof. So I wonder. I haven't seen this fight. Have you seen this fight?
No.
Yeah, I haven't either, man. That's why Fight Pass is so good. I love me some Fight Pass, dude. I can just it's possible for me to watch all of Francis Ngannou's fights, turn around and watch all of Stipe's fights after that if I want. But Stipe's last 5 wins are via KO or TKO.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's impressive is that he was not finishing a ton and then started just annihilating people.
He done the opposite of what champions normally do.
I know. Think about GSP, Anderson Silva. I mean, even Joe Rogan said this earlier on the Woodley podcast when he was talking about Woodley. He's like, Woodley's like, I had these spectacular knockouts, beat these people in this fashion, and all people remember is that. And he's like, what was like that with Anderson Silva? And then he came out and front kicked Vitor Belfort in the face. And
yeah, the knockouts will come. You can't force them.
I know, man. Technique will carry you so far when you just will get in there and strategize and let it flow out. Even I heard Greg Jackson say one time at a seminar, he's like, you can't force things. It has to flow. If you're sitting there thinking about it, trying to force it, trying to make it come out, trying to run your combo list, it won't be like,
yeah.
Now,
I've just seen Curtis Blades land a nice stiff jab on Ngannou.
Yeah, he just lunged in for it again. Led him with a straight right, caught a right hand of his own right there. That rocked him a little bit. Looked like, did he cut his face with that, dude? Looked like that was that right hand. Looks like his eyes swelling up. I bet this is what
the doctor stoppage comes from this one. I noticed Ngannou's movement isn't nearly as good in this fight.
It's not. I mean, really, he's evolved a lot over the last couple of years. I'm noticing that in comparison to what we saw in the Overeem fight. Like I said, there was a lot of time between Arlovsky and Overeem.
Overeem fight, he was using little steps for his footwork. He had a lot of head movement, but it was subtle head movement. It wasn't crazy, and then he had a lot of feints. In this fight, he's a lot more rigid and still.
Slapped him down to the ground on that one, dude. Have you ever seen those slap competitions, man, where people just slap each other? Like, I slap you, and then you slap me, and then sometimes people get knocked out. No. It's crazy, like a bitch slap contest. No joke. It's like a sport, like arm wrestling, but with bitch slaps. Oh, dude, he got him again. He's winning this fight right now. Maybe not.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that much, but he did get him again.
I mean, that's 2 takedowns to no takedowns.
And he took him down straight in a side control.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then he had that near takedown where he just popped right up.
Looks like Blades got lazy.
Yeah, he got the back there. Looks like he's tired from wrestling now, or his face being annihilated.
Yeah, he looks a little distraught about the face. Okay, so maybe I'd say if...
I remember when I first started charting Stipe, I'm like, who's this Stipe guy?
Yeah, Stipe.
Stipe, Miocic. I can never remember his name. Stipe Miocic. Such a immigrant firefighter name. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when I first saw him, I thought he was for real from Croatia or somewhere. Where,
I know, dude. He looks like a little baby Crow Cop.
Miocic's got that immigrant mentality. I want to say how surprised Joey Diaz hasn't been on talking about his boy Miocic since this fight's been announced.
That was a nice little jab.
Yeah, Ngannou definitely looks a little bit winded here in the middle of round 2.
Blades' eye looks a little bit winded, bro. I caught a view. Oh man, do you see the hematoma forming? You can see it right there from the side. He's gonna turn a little bit, or they'll catch another angle. Like you could see, oh man, his eye ain't even open.
Yeah, the thing's shut, and now it's just causing him to eat more and more.
Man,
punches.
yeah.
You know, I wish this fight would have went the 3 rounds. I think Curtis Blades is definitely still in it, though.
Yeah, I know.
He's landing shots.
I would agree.
He's losing, but he's landing shots.
Needs to keep that right eyelid away from the fist of Ngannou. I am looking forward to, as time goes on with the podcast, doing fight companions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do them on every single fight, but I think that would be... oh, man, he swung big again and almost got taken down again, dude. I mean, again, this is like April of 2016, but we might be seeing the blueprint on how to beat this big dude.
Yeah.
Man, that eye is gnarly.
Yeah, I'm definitely seeing a lot. Since I hadn't seen this fight before, I'm seeing a lot that I would think could
that's
be there
why, man,
for
that's
Stipe.
why I wanted to watch it, because like that's the number one thing. It's like Stipe's been getting better at finishing. Ngannou obviously finishes people, but his 2 most notable wins are Arlovsky and Overeem, who probably most definitely have serious brain damage. Oh, sir, we need to check your face. It seems to be, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. If this was what we were going off of into the Stipe fight, I would think Stipe would kick his ass.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, not what we're going
let's
off
go back
of.
to the let's go back to the biased Ngannou notes on page 1 of my let's see. So there's a whole thing with him breaking the punching record, which, what do you think about that? You think that's bullshit?
Yeah,
pretty
much.
That machine's been hit by everybody all the time for years. That's the kind of the argument. It's like he had more. I think his was like Tyrone Spong was like 114,000, and his was like 129,000. But you know.
Well, I mean, it's irrelevant to me. We know he hits hard as shit, and that's really all there is to it.
Can you see this finger over here? No. he just touched the doctor in the eye, man. He just touched his face.
Yeah,
he couldn't see it all.
Oh yeah, his depth perception is a little off. Yeah, Curtis Blade's still in him, man. He wants to keep fighting. I like him.
Yeah, see, they're checking his peripherals, and he didn't have any. Well, come on, man.
Shit.
Yeah, dude, his eyes.
Maybe he'll get a rematch with Ngannou one of these days.
Yeah, I wonder what Blades has been up to recently. That's a major bummer, man, to get a fight stopped that way because of an injury. So, cross Curtis Blades off the list. Now we're getting to the short fights. Like this, these next few go pretty quick.
You mind if we break real quick?
No, that's totally fine, bro. I can just hit pause right now. Okay, we're back, and did a cool little revelation here. Go ahead and say that again.
Yeah, we were wondering who Curtis Blades was fighting next, and he's been on a little bit of a tear since the Ngannou fight. He's undefeated since then with pretty dominant victories, so he's fighting Mark Hunt next month.
I would watch a rematch of that fight. That would be interesting. I don't know. Let's say that...
oh, this is the poor bastard who's fighting.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's say if Ngannou loses, that would be a good fight for him to go to. If he loses to Miocic, if he beats Miocic, I don't know who's going to be next in line. If Ngannou beats Miocic, who's going to be next in line if Miocic beats Ngannou?
I think Fabricio's next in line if Ngannou wins, which would be a sick fight.
Fabricio was at Hickson's red belt promotion.
Yeah, I think Fabricio is a better matchup than Stipe is to win it against Ngannou. Stipe uses,
Speaking of Hickson, my dog just pushed the door open.
I thought I shut the door all the way. My bad.
Did you see that picture Cora posted of the cat on the podcast? It like hopped up in there, Pod Kitty.
Yeah, this guy, man. I don't think he wants any
dude.
any part of this.
He got a little skin hanging over the Reebok shorts.
he's like my height fighting
Yeah,
Francis
I know,
Ngannou.
dude. Andy's got some L pattern baldness going on.
He's a 40-year-old, 5'9", dude.
Dude, who's that guy? I always forget his name. He's like 40, early 40s, but he's an Olympic judoka. And
The
I want to say,
Australian guy?
what's that?
The Australian guy?
Yeah.
He just fought.
Fought several times. I want to say he just got finished pretty brutally, but he could have fought again since then. Like he just always puts on an entertaining fight and always takes people down because it's judo too. But he's got pretty sick striking. But he's an older dude. I mean, he's like 40, 42
Yeah, I know
years
who you're
old.
talking about. I think he just fought Elias Theodoro his last fight, or recently.
Oh man, that dude just whiffed a baseball bat of an overhanded Ngannou. This dude looks like Matt Mitrione and Fedor had a baby, and it got some prison tats.
Yeah, definitely some prison tats going on.
I keep giving. Oh man, that was a nasty. Like, oh my gosh, dude, mauling.
This is just terrible.
I wonder what kind of sounds Ngannou makes while he's doing that. like savage growls.
Yeah,
Man.
you know, is he
I was still
protesting?
in it. I was still. Oh, dude, look at those. Like, he got weird baby faces on his back. That's interesting tattoos.
Man, yeah, that
Ngannou's like, how could you protest?
I
Come
can't.
on, bro. That was a fast one.
That one didn't raise Ngannou's stock very much.
See you later, Mr. Bohan, whatever your name is. You know, with a name like Francis, you better be good at MMA.
Francis, super common French name.
I know, right?
The Canadian guy that used to be in the UFC back in the day. He was pretty good. At TriStar, Francis something or the other.
What? So yeah, this guy. Somebody was like trying to compare him to Czech Congo because of the. I mean, I guess
They're both
I
French,
guess,
African.
Yeah, to an extent. I can't remember. I
Yeah,
used to be somewhat of a Czech Congo fan. Was it you and I talking about that Pat Barry fight? Had you seen Czech Congo and Pat Barry?
Yeah, wasn't that one of the biggest comebacks ever?
Yeah, it was, man. So sick.
That was one of my favorite. Yeah, definitely an awesome comeback. Good fight to
Anthony
watch.
Hamilton is next.
Okay, at least we're getting to people that are
Yeah.
decently well known.
Yeah, next is Arlovsky and then the Ream. Got us a new little haircut going on.
Yeah, this is the new haircut Ngannou in this fight.
Do you ever remember that YouTube video? Hey, it's my new haircut.
Yeah.
Jaeger bombs.
Right. Yeah. All my boys, we got the same haircut.
That's such a funny
that
video. Cora hates Joey Diaz for some reason. I love Joey Diaz.
Hannah hates Joey
lot.
Diaz as well.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I could
stuff.
totally see why, but like Cora was just giving me crap earlier. She's like, "You effing Momo," and I was like, "What? You just called me a Momo, but you hate Joey Diaz?"
Yeah, I showed her stuff thinking it's the funniest thing in the world, and for some reason she doesn't get the same kick out of it as I did.
Did you see the one where he was talking about the bus ride, the
No.
fart on the bus?
No.
Oh my gosh, man! It's like watch some of the best of compilation videos from JRE on Joey Diaz, and you will like side splitting laughter. Man, speaking of side splitting, like in yoga today, so I did yoga right before this.
Yeah.
Man, that is one of the biggest benefits that I'm receiving. Is like my hips are opening up a lot because like I'm stretching the top of my hip like into my side, like between my ribs and that like. I don't even know what this is called. Like, just that very top of your hip right there.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called either.
Yeah, but...
You're talking about the muscle right there? Like
yeah,
the big
like, you know,
muscle
where you kind of
sits
do an
right on
oblique
top?
crunch right there? Like, I really, like, I feel like lengthening, like, a lot of tension in between, like, where my rib cage ends, like, where the top of my hip kind of starts to form, and it's feeling great. But we've been doing a lot of, like, side twisting stuff where you do that.
Yep.
And...
Yeah, I love that pose. Feels
Man,
good.
like from Warrior, it was probably the best class I've done today. Like I've been doing, I don't know if I'm going to go tomorrow, so I'm going to go see Todd Snyder in concert tonight, and then we're going to do a music Unraveled about him. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to hit yoga in the morning after going to George's and partying tonight. So
Yeah, it'd be rough.
yeah.
Be rough.
So, bro, you don't like the floozies. I like how I was like, nah, bro, they got a lot of stuff. You got to check out this song. This song is the best song. You're like, that's the one I checked out.
Yeah, I just went to Spotify, you know, like top 5 songs, and I think that was the top one, though.
I really enjoy that song. Yeah, I love like sparring to that song. When I did my first black belt test, I was sparring. I had to spar 12 rounds and roll 12 rounds. And I was sparring, and that song "Stuntin'" came on. I hit like a 5th gear. I was like, "Yeah, kicking it overdrive."
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I don't.
Yeah, I mean they are
floozies.
different, but I would be interested, like just because I know that you said you're kind of into electronic. I'd be interested to hear what other stuff you listen to, because they are like one of my favorite electronic bands. But definitely, Big Gigantic's another one I really enjoy, and they're going to be at George's next month.
Yeah, the floozies have like a 80s kind of
Yeah,
music
they
vibe
do,
to
because he
it.
sings into that little vocal synthesizer thing. He does all the vocals.
Beats and stuff are. I don't know if it was maybe the one song, because I did listen to another song other than the Love, Sex, and whatever. What is it
Love,
called?
Sex, and Fancy Things. Yeah,
Mhm.
they've got a bunch of cool songs they sample. They sample just can't sit, new joint hit by Will Smith.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give them another listen. Check it out some more.
Yeah, they're good, but like I definitely I've seen them in concert a few times, and I'm probably gonna go see them at this festival, Backwoods Festival, for my birthday. But you know.
So Francis here is fighting Anthony Hamilton when he was still in France. Well, it says fighting out of, that isn't always accurate. I guess it's whatever they write on the card. But
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if we're looking at the next heavyweight champion of the UFC right now. I can't stop thinking about it.
yeah.
I mean, you know how much he's got to be putting into what he's doing right now, into the industry and the production of Francis Ngannou, because he's on the cusp of absolute greatness if he wins this fight.
It is.
And
Yeah,
I
he
wonder,
knows it.
and I mean, if Miocic's just a little complacent or not as,
No way Miocic is complacent right now. I think Miocic wants this more than
Okay,
anything.
how old is Miocic?
He's probably the same age. I'm not sure, but I think he's early 30s.
Francis is 31. Stipe is 35. 246, 80-inch reach, 6'4", D1 wrestler, 19-2 professional record, 13 fights in the UFC. 4th appearance in the UFC, loses to Struve. Wins 3, then loses the decision to JDS in a non-title fight. And then his next 5 fights are TKO, TKO, KO, KO, TKO.
Savage.
Total savage. Like it's just like GSP, and it's like it went the total other way. It's like, I'm going to start fighting only decisions. It's like, I mean, Michael Bisping's got to be the first person GSP's finished in a while.
Mm-hmm.
This dude got quick little hands. Pew, pew, pew. Oh, caught the kick. It was just complimenting your kicks, Francis. That was a nice little scramble, but now dude's got his back. The dude look like a little baby Cormier.
Oh, picking Francis up. Yeah, Francis definitely hasn't looked nearly as untouchable in his early UFC fights. Got his back taken by Anthony Hamilton. It seemed like Anthony Hamilton was just faster to get there. He just got up, scrambled, and took the back faster than Francis was able to get up.
Yeah.
Francis sometimes has like a look of, like, oh shit, did that really just happen?
Dude, he just jerked that guy down from a standing Kimura position into side mount and knee mount Kimura finish. I'm impressed by that.
Yeah,
I don't finish Kimuras on knee mount personally in all my 11 years plus of doing jiu-jitsu. But I mean, I can see it. I just don't, and I've seen it before. I just don't personally like it. But he was up against the fence and slung Ngannou down. I heard this. Remember how we were kind of talking, and I mentioned on the first Sports Unraveled, we were doing talking about, like, I was like, what if they took the fence out? Dude, then they were talking about that, because I hadn't seen the whole Jimmy Smith episode, but they were talking about that on Joe Rogan and what Bellator has done, because they have Bellator kickboxing, and then they lower the cage down over it, right? So they have all this extra room so you don't just Bernard Hopkins and fall out of the ring. But that's what Jimmy Smith was saying. Is like Bellator had come up with the answers, like 5 extra feet on all sides if you fall through the ropes. Like, why not just do that? Or like Joe Rogan was like, put him in a basketball court with like padded walls all the way around it or something. But like like they were saying the same thing. Or Joe was. He's like, what if you took the wall out of it? There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to go. It's like, you strike or take him down. Takedowns can explode and drive and not have to worry about running the fence. Like, the fence is a big factor.
Yeah, huge.
Huge.
You'd probably see a lot more boring fights, though, too.
Possibly.
People
Maybe see some people.
It would take away the importance of, like, lateral movement rather than,
Indeed. It would. I mean, it would take away the importance of a lot of footwork in my mind, right? It would become...
like, having good footwork wouldn't be as important anymore if you had this huge open space to run around in.
Man, the evolution of Francis Ngannou's haircut. I'm interested in it.
He looked way more badass with the cornrows.
Indeed.
He should have kept them.
Kind of like a big African Uriah Faber.
Yeah, he looked like way cooler, way scarier.
Oh, damn, that uppercut again, dude. It's just traumatic. Like, you know that people get hit by him are like living with trauma. See, it's like Arlovsky, man. I like the dude, but I don't want to see him get hit anymore. Like, when Fedor knocked Arlovsky out in Affliction, do you remember that?
I do, yep. I was hyped for that fight.
Yeah, me too. And, like, I was like, damn, Arlovsky's dead. He died. Like, I mean, I was just like, dude, you just died. I mean, it's just
Didn't
like
he hop in with like a flying knee and get caught with the overhand, right?
Yeah, just like boom, and
jumped in,
just like cut him down. Just, I mean, it was an impressive thing. But he's been knocked out a few times. I will say what was super impressive to me, and I mean, this guy's career kind of went on the downslide around that time. But did you see Andrei Arlovsky finish Travis Brown?
Well, I'm sure I've seen that. But
so he threw an overhand, or like an overhand right, and it missed. And then he came back and hit him with a back fist, bro. I was just like, what?
Yeah, that was sick.
Yeah.
He hit him with a couple of those in that fight. It seemed like something he was like either working on or...
that's I will say about the Jackson Wink camp is, and more specifically Mike Winklejohn, is that's like the strike. They are always, to me, in a way, bringing interesting new striking concepts, and I think there might be a little behind the curve on the grappling, as you kind of saw with Condit, like in the fight the other night. He was trying to transition a lot of leg locks off his submission game, which is a good idea, but you could tell he just wasn't quite there on it. You know, like nothing materialized for him, and he ended up losing that fight.
Yeah, well, I thought it was really cool what you said last time about if they made that old Jackson striking and grappling book from years ago, if they made a new version, like an updated, like
it's a good book, bro.
All the current stuff.
Like, I like how you were like, oh, so I heard you mention that book. I have that same book. I'm like, yeah. That's a good one.
It's a good one.
I literally was over to Buddy's house one time, and he had his guy, buddy I knew that trained. He had it, and I just picked it up off the shelf, and I was like, I am buying this. And I bought both of them. Come on now.
So have you seen anything about the UFC Performance Institute, like with all they have in there or anything?
No, not a ton. I'm hearing a lot of buzz about it, though.
Yeah. Cool stuff. Apparently they say other sports have been doing it for a while, but using light therapy.
Yeah, no, that is definitely a thing
to get the blood flowing.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. Light is something that people are talking about a lot. Like I was mentioning to you the other day, and hopefully my buddy breaks it down really well for the audience. But how water reacts to light to form energy. Like. It's really interesting.
You talked about that the other day, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of like, because like I said, there's a whole TED talk about it, and I never really given it much thought. You know, I'm more of a liberal fine arts and humanities type of guy, and I mean I did well in math and sciences in college, not so much in high school. I'm not a nuclear engineer or anything.
Yeah, but
that's something like I was interested in engineering, but seriously, like for my skill set and what I want to do, way too much math involved in that. Same thing with architecture.
Yeah, I like math.
So did you like building Legos when you were a kid?
No, see, I'm not.
You're not that type of
I'm not the traditional engineer.
Yeah, I
as
know,
you
right?
kind of could tell. I'm not. I'm really different than my engineering peers.
So there was a guy I met that came here from D.C. That was a flood engineer out there. That's kind of an interesting. I never really met or heard of a flood engineer before.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that, but I guess makes sense.
Yeah. He had to like go around and look at all these potential places and fix this and change that. And he was here for a while. Oh, man, just caught Arlovsky. I mean, how many times has Arlovsky been knocked out, dude? I'm looking it up right now.
Arlovsky was doing good in that fight up until for some he overextended there quite a bit.
Arlovsky did really, I feel like when he went to Jackson's, I felt like that was a positive thing for him, you know?
Yeah, he's still there now, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
Yeah, I think so. He looked good in his last fight. Arlovsky still seems to be. I like him because he looks like he's still adding stuff and getting better. You know, he gets knocked out, but I mean, it is the heavyweight division.
Yeah,
shit happens.
that was gnarly. I want to see that again. Belarus. I like his little lightning bolt haircut.
Corny.
I know, right?
Corny. When he had these cool warrior braids before, and he went to a little blonde lightning bolt.
Bink, kind of like a stepping back rear hook. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So Arlovsky's, let's see, just since he's been back in the UFC, we're going to start with that. He beat Schwab, Antonio Silva, Travis Brown, and Frank Mir. Impressive.
Yeah, very
and,
impressive.
Split decision against Schwab and decision against Frank Mir, but it was a TKO and a KO of Antonio Silva and Travis Brown. Then he loses to Stipe, and that would have been that wasn't a title fight. Then he loses to Reem. Then he TKO on both of those, gets submitted with a rear naked choke by Barnett. Loses to Ngannou, and then loses to this guy named Marcin Tybura.
Yeah.
Tibura.
He's the guy that just fought Fabricio, right?
Yeah, actually, I think so. And then Junior Albini.
Yeah,
he just won a decision against him.
I don't like that guy.
All right, last fight coming up here, the Reem. But, I mean, well, real quick before we put on the Reem, how many of those that I just mentioned recently? So we'll just, we're going to go, I mentioned the Fedor fight. Just since the Fedor fight, which is in recent memory for you and I, 2009. So we're talking 8 years. He's been knocked out 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, 4, 5, 6 times. So not as bad as I thought. But then you take his career before that. Tim Sylvia knocked him out. Pedro Hizzo knocked him out. Rico Rodriguez knocked him out. And Vyacheslav Datsik. That's an electronic band, Datsik. They're playing in Arkansas here soon. Yeah. All right, let's see him decimate Reem real quick, and then we'll see if we have any closing remarks. The Reem. Dude, look at the cover on Fight Pass of that. Just like him bending that.
Yeah, it's
that's
gnarly.
what everybody unanimously says. He's like, yeah, he got decapitated and cut his head off.
On the promo for the Stipe Miocic, or yes, the Stipe and Ngannou fight, where it shows Overeem with his head like on the canvas, like laid back, with his eyes open. Creepy.
Dude, yeah,
creepy little stuff.
I watched this last night, or a couple of nights ago. I can't remember. I was just like, I watched this, and then I watched that Miocic versus Struve.
Getting knocked out is such a weird, like, physical phenomenon.
Have you been knocked out before?
Not like KO'd stuff.
Yeah, I've been flash knocked out a couple of times. It like woke up when I hit the fort. Damn, dude, it already is over. Like we can't even talk, and it's gonna be over.
Yeah, I'd been like dropped where I like blacked out for a second, but not like stiffened
I'd
up.
like see a color flash, and a couple of times, and it's like hit the floor, and then just be like right back.
I hit the floor and kind of, well, one time sort of bounced back up. Other times I've hit the floor sometimes and kind of like been like, oh, and laid there.
Dude, I'll tell you what sucks are body knockouts, bro. Like a harsh, nasty liver shot.
Yeah, yeah, that sucks too. I'll take that any day over the.
See, I feel like, man,
headshot
I feel like
knockout.
Overeem might have taken this fight a little too casually. I mean, because wasn't he coming off a win over Verdum, or did he have a fight between that? Because when I saw him and Verdum fight when I was in Vegas. So he separates him, ref separates him. It's 3:41 in the round. They're going to get in a little striking exchange here.
I was thinking Overeem was pretty shook in this fight. Like his tactic of just completely abandoning like his traditional striking style and going for the weaving like
Yeah, I know.
overhand like loopy punches was just not his thing. Like and
Bink.
yeah, I
Good
think
night.
he was like doing that like in a what do you call it? A panicked effort to avoid getting punched by
So,
Ngannou.
I was telling you about Ramon Deckers. That's one of Overeem's original coaches.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
back in what is it? Dutchland,
Yeah, Holland.
Holland.
Yeah, well, that concludes Francis Ngannou's 6 fights in the UFC here in we've been podcasting for 56 minutes, breaking down all of his fights in the UFC. And then, like I said, he had lost that one fight out of the UFC in a decision, but I want to say it was even a split decision. You never know on something like that.
I think he was subbed.
Was he? Let me look it up real quick.
Pretty sure.
I didn't think he had been finished, but it's possible.
It was like an armbar or something, like a standard sub, I think.
Francis Ngannou. Let's see. He is 11-1, and it was a decision.
Oh,
Yeah, second fight, December 14th,
So he got
2013.
outclassed.
Yeah, but man, you never know. He could have been fighting the hometown boy,
Yeah.
and his hometown boy's dad was one of the judges.
Mm-hmm.
You never know on decisions like that.
And dude doesn't even have a Wikipedia page or anything, does he?
I know, like his first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fighters don't have anything on Wikipedia, but still, most of those were in France. One was in Switzerland. One was in Bahrain. Then his first fight in the UFC was in Orlando, but his first round, second round, first round, second. Okay, so here's something interesting. That was a 2-round fight.
Oh, the decision he lost?
Mhm. That's interesting. I had to look into
weird.
that a little more. Yeah, man, rounds.
How do
I
you
just
judge a
wish there was
2-round
more
fight?
unification on things like rounds, round length, weight class. And it's like UFC uses a cage, but Bellator uses a circle. Like they use an octagon, Bellator uses a circle. It's fascinating to me the differences and things like that.
Yeah, I wonder how much the circle changes, cutting the cage. And
I don't know. I
stuff
think
like
it
that.
just allows them to do what I was saying about having that extra. But I mean, you could do that very well with an octagon. It'd probably work out just as well, honestly. So he's got 7 knockout wins, 4 sub wins. This is Ngannou. Aside from that decision loss, 2 biggest people he's fought, probably Arlovsky and Overeem. And then we got Stipe, who I kind of rattled off his credentials a second ago on stat-wise. But what are your predictions on that after seeing Ngannou wreck shop a few times?
I think that I'm gonna my official prediction is gonna have to be Stipe.
Stipe.
But I think I'm getting swayed from watching Ngannou's older fights where
Yeah, me too. I feel the same way. I feel the same exact way.
I'm not impressed by his older fights.
But you know what? You know what is convincing? You know what's turning? And I mean, it might just be because they haven't figured it out. I like watching Ngannou's open workouts because he shows all this cool shit. Like a lot of fighters never show. Like, you ever seen a Floyd Mayweather open workout?
No.
It's ridiculous. They don't show you anything. He's like, all right, I'm gonna punch the body. You ever seen that? What was it? Tracy Morgan. They did the speed test. Oh, dude, it's so funny, bro. they act like he's Floyd Mayweather in their training, and he's like he's hitting, and then he's like, "Oh, speed test," and then he's like turns around and starts hitting behind his back and stuff. It's a classic viral video, but yeah.
I'm thinking Stipe's jab is going to be there on Ngannou after seeing Curtis Blades be able to land the jab, and Curtis Blades not near the boxer that Stipe is.
Yeah, I mean, Stipe said he stopped training for like a year and just focused on boxing. I was trying to look up his. He has a boxing record, right?
He should. They say he's like, I don't. What if you're a Golden Gloves champ? What does that actually mean? I don't know
That's
much.
amateur boxing. That might be why he didn't have anything on.
Yeah, so that'll be why. I don't think he didn't do any pro boxing.
Pay-per-view bouts.
So if you're a Golden Gloves champ, does that mean like a state champ?
Well, it could be state. It could be regional. So our state is like Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi. Ours is Mid-South, like Mid-South Golden Gloves. So state's coming up in March, and then we have Mid-South, and then it's national. Floyd Mayweather has won a Mid-South Golden Gloves in Arkansas.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, interesting little trivia factoid. Okay, so let's look at Miocic's last 5 wins. Okay, we got a TKO of Mark Hunt. The guy with slurring speech and brain damage. We got a TKO of Arlovsky. We already talked about that. We got a KO of Fabricio, who had recently fought Overeem, and Overeem won. You got a KO of Overeem. And then you got a TKO of JDS in the first round.
One thing that's interesting to note is, most of his fights where he's won, it's fights where he's the pressuring guy and moving forward, putting the pressure on the person. And Stipe likes to cut the cage a lot and put him against the cage. But with Fabricio, we remember Fabricio came running at him, so he can also knock people out going off his back foot too.
Yeah, flying side kicks for everyone. Remember when, is that what you're talking about, when Fabricio came out with that flying side kick? He does.
He did that against...
who did he do that against? Open the fight with a flying side kick.
Travis Brown.
It might have been.
The second time.
And you're just like, what?
Yeah, because that was...
What are you doing?
That was the night he teeped Edmund at the end of the fight.
Oh, man. Yeah. Too funny. Well, dude, so Diablo Blanco.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a cool nickname, and that's what we came up with. You know, since Big Brown's already taken, and you're
medium white just doesn't really.
And medium white doesn't really
ring.
work. It's kind of how I cooked my eggs earlier, I think. I'm not sure. Well, yeah, dude, I covered a lot of topics in the last hour. I'm looking forward to UFC 220. Maybe we could do another podcast on the whole card, or a. If I don't end up watching that anywhere else, dude, I'm down to order the pay-per-view here, do a companion, break it down, or do one before or after, like I said, when it hits Fight Pass. I'm trying to, I think I told you the prelims at least. I hadn't checked on the actual Holly Holm main card, but I'm trying to figure out how long it is between those going on Fight Pass. It's just like there's no trend of how fast it takes to upload.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, dude. Good times. We'll have to have you back, and we'll have to break down some of these issues. Some things Josh and I have been talking about, riffing on the podcast, would be different aspects of performance-enhancing drugs. I would like to do one over just performance-enhancing drugs in international sport and kind of give a big lay of the land. That's not, like, most of the time when we do a sports unravel, it's going to be, like, combat sports related, because those are the only sports that matter. Just kidding. But I mean, it is like, but it's interesting how the issues we talk about in the sports that we enjoy the most are going to be issues that exist in basically all sports.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that is the common thread in performance enhancing drugs. Is it just brings in all these cool ethical issues, and I am fascinated by like the history of Olympic sport and how. I'll probably incorporate this into my history side of things I'm doing, because a lot of people call, Brian Fogel alluded to this, and there's tons of books that have this either in their title, but international sport is war without weapons. You know, I mean, it really is. Like Brian Fogel said in that JRE,
this is the producer of Icarus. He was like, he was saying that he felt like Putin and this Russia. I almost always call him the Soviet Union, bro. Putin and Russia. Putin and Russia moved into the Ukraine in 2012, started taking territory there, and they said that like Russia killing it at the Olympics in 2012 was like the hearts and minds level support they needed to be able to do something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Makes sense.
Interesting, man. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up. I got to go pick up. We've got a car in the shop that's had some parts ordered for it. Got the ignition all fixed. Apparently, when your cars get like 100,000 miles on them, you gotta get them fixed more.
Yeah, something like
crazy.
that.
I think we're about to trade in maybe both of them. But anyway, so right on, man. Well, this is Sports Unraveled. Brian and Josh. We'll see you guys next time.